of it. Gotta do it. I gotta tell them. I'm so sick of this mess. I just need to get it out of here and just talk to them about it. Okay, let's go. Lydia, you got this. Let's go. Okay. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got to start jamming to my music.
Okay, sounds good.
So
Well,
go back on the break.
okay, I'll leave you guys alone then. Alright. Dang it. Okay, I'm gonna call Mom now. Ring.
Ring. Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Lydia. How are you? Oh my goodness, how's college?
It's okay, I guess.
Oh.
I'm just like so sick of my roommates right now.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Well, have you told them?
Well, no, because how do you tell the people that they need to clean up after this house without sounding like mean about it? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
That's true. Well, it sounds like you might have some fear of conflict.
Fear of what?
I learned about it in my small group class when I was in college.
OMG, Mom, stop. Just because you took one class in college doesn't mean you have to tell me all about it. Just stop.
Well, honey, I know you don't want to hear it, but it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't remember exactly how fear of conflict is defined.
Conflict. Everyone knows to some extent what conflict is. It's usually a struggle between two or more people. However, there is also fear of conflict. In small groups, the context of that is members perceive interference in the attainment of their goals, which makes them afraid to address things that they don't agree with other group members.
Well, I guess in a simple way, fear of conflict is just when a person might worry about saying something or doing something that might annoy others. And so in your situation, it's your roommates and you're scared that you might make them upset or annoy them, and that's just not something you want to do. And so fear of conflict can be seen by its signs of dysfunction and its consequences of dysfunction. And so I can tell you some of those if you want.
Well, I guess I do sometimes try to avoid debating with them, especially like in the important things. And I never, I guess, disagree with them. I always try to, avoid controversial topics. I guess I kind of feel a lot of tension between us too. Are any of these signs of conflict?
Yeah, Lydia, those are all exactly signs of conflict. I really think you're starting to get it. Many consequences of fear of conflict that will probably keep happening in your apartment is that you'll all just quickly accept situations or suggestions, and you'll never make one another follow through with anything. You'll never talk about any hard or controversial topics, and you'll never come up to each other and talk about what's going on because nobody will share any information, and you're all start to just tune each other out, and it'll just become a really hostile environment.
But Mom, I just don't get how it started. We've always been like best friends. I shouldn't be scared to talk to them.
And that happens. You're not wrong. It can happen between best friends, between coworkers. It can happen really anywhere. If fear of conflict happens, it doesn't really matter who or what, but it can happen to anybody. A lot of people just have varying style differences, different conflict management behaviors. They have incompatible goals or visions, different perceptions of inequity, or just many other things can cause it. It doesn't really matter if you're friends or not. It can happen to anyone.
Makes sense. She's always talking about how her apartment is so high stress all the time. She also one time said that Kristen and I are kind of domineering leaders. Lydia also tries to keep such high levels of cohesion, but it just doesn't always work. Kristen and I just don't have the same goals for this apartment as Lydia does.
I still just don't know if I do have this fear of conflict thing you're talking about.
That's fair. Well, if this helps, there are 6 features that define fear of conflict. Oh, I took this class so long ago, but I think they're real or illusionary, overtangible or intangible, interpersonal, intergroup, overt or covert, beneficial or harmful, and then there's if they move towards escalation or de-escalation. And I know those are the 6 features, I just can't really remember what they all mean.
Well, that really helps, Mom, though. Thanks.
Okay, let me just think for 1 second.
Conflict can be many things. It can be real or illusory. Real meaning that the conflict does exist when two members' values and beliefs clash, or illusory, which creates often a fear of conflict, when two members or more believe that there is a conflict in goals or belief, when really there isn't. It can also be over tangible or intangible resources. So resources like physical materials such as food, or intangible resources such as happiness and joy. It can also be at the interpersonal, intra-group, or intergroup levels. It can also be overt or covert. Overt meaning exposed and out in the open, or covert meaning kind of implied and passive-aggressive and stares and discomfort. Is it going? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right. I am Arthur. I'm Arthur Jensen, and today we will be discussing the different forms of conflict and how to handle that. And so first we have to discuss what covert versus overt is. And in this diagram that we have, that Chilberg and I have developed over our years of research.
Yep.
We have the covert pattern. And so during covert forms of conflict, it's very passive-aggressive, and it does not bode well with managing conflict. But in overt, it is verbally expressed, non-verbally expressed, and you are able to work through the conflict with your group as a small group together. But with covert, you push it to the side, you don't talk about it, there's no nonverbals, there's no verbals, you don't talk about it at all.
Yeah, and so then it happens, it becomes like you don't address things, you address things, and then more things come up and you don't address those.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're pretty smart.
We're super smart. Okay, and I want to talk to you about mine, which is escalation and de-escalation. So escalation and de-escalation can happen in cyclical patterns. So an escalation of conflict means an increase in conflict, right? And a de-escalation in conflict means a decrease in conflict. You're figuring it out, you're calming it down. So it can be kind of volatile quite a bit, as you can see. So you have an escalation in conflict, a bit of a de-escalation, but then over time more escalation can happen, de-escalation, and then sometimes it can get to this point where you're just kind of very much conflicting with group members. This is the Joseph C. Chilberg theory. I put the chill in Chilberg.
Not now.
Yeah, sorry. So anyway, this is our research. Thanks. See you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Whoa, Mom, that was a lot of information.
Sorry, Lydia. I really loved that class and I learned a ton. Maybe try looking up Patrick Loncy and watch his video about Lono's 5 dysfunctions of a team. It's a super great video, and I really think he can help summarize better than I can since I took it so long ago.
Oh, all right, fine.
Hi all, thank you for tuning in today. My name is Patrick Lencioni, and today we'll be discussing my 5 dysfunctions of a team. So this dysfunction starts at lack of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and inattention to results. So these issues stem from conflict not being talked about, and that starts at lack of trust. And every time conflict isn't talked about, it moves up the ladder of dysfunctions. And so that is a huge problem, especially when working in groups. So the solution to this is that you need to establish that conflict is welcome and purposeful in your group. You need to define what healthy conflict is so that you can move forward with the discussion in your group. And you can also, one thing that you can do to establish that conflict is good is mind for conflict. And open the meeting with a bad idea and see if anyone fights you on it. Or not even fights you, just argues you against it. And you use this as a test to open up healthy discussion, and healthy discussion is needed in terms of a group, because if there's no discussion in a group, then you don't have a group. All right, So that was just a brief overview of my 5 dysfunctions, and if you want to know more, just contact me and let me know. All right, thanks guys.
Okay, I guess that kind of helped.
See?
Well, how do I try to resolve this conflict?
There are quite a ways you can help and resolve conflict, but you have to be careful when you do it. And when you do it, you have to make sure that you focus on one issue at a time. You focus on interests and concerns rather than just argue positions. Members should identify the position they're taking. So you just have to be really clear of what's going on with, in your situation, you and your roommates, you need to make sure that you're being really clear of who's doing what and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. Everyone needs to be really clear on what sides or opinions they have. Make sure that you're not fluctuating from side to side. Otherwise, it can get confusing on kind of what you believe and what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then members need to share their position one by one so that everybody can be clear of what their opinion is and what position they're taking. And then a person on an opposing side of the fence should summarize what others have said to make sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on and that nobody's confused. And then members should always discuss the similarities that exist. Make sure that you know what's going on and that you're covering everything and that everybody knows what's going on. And then another thing you can do is group brainstorm. And my goodness, excuse me. And then you can generate ideas to solve the problem.
Okay, I guess that's not that hard actually. But what do you mean to be careful when I do it?
If only I could remember. Give me one sec. It's been a long time. Let me think.
When to avoid resolving conflict. You want to avoid trying to resolve conflict in groups when the power between the conflicting parties is unequal, when there is no chance of an acceptable resolution, when no appropriate place exists to resolve the conflict, when conflict communication skills in the group are lacking, specifically when members are unable to articulate their thoughts or emotions, when a third-party mediation is not available, or when members are unwilling to follow conflict procedures. You also want to avoid resolving conflict when the timing is wrong, aka when not all relevant people who are involved in the conflict are present, when tension interferes with clear thinking, and when members are discouraged.
I'm gonna have to remember that and really try to work on it.
Okay, well, Lydia, you keep me updated. I love you, and make sure to call me because you never call me in college anymore.
Love you too, Mom.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Moms always know best. I'm sure if I know anything, Lydia will be calling back next week and calling for advice on something new.
Hey, Mom. I need some advice again. My roommates just don't do anything around here. I think they have a lack of commitment.